So I am very happy to share um, some work that Dr. Kuehn and I have been working on developing a culture of care and supporting of LGBTQ plus youth. Um, s- and Today I want to just discuss what some of the topics of the framework of a culture of care. So we will be addressing what the problem is, what some of the literature says. We will also be discussing, the differences between culture versus climate, as opposed to this framework, and what the care framework is. And I will also add to where it has led us within the past year or so and the implications for it. So currently, right now, we are looking at some statistics coming from the 2021 National School Climate Survey um, done by GLSEN, and which is a national nonprofit organization that champions for the advocacy of LGBTQ plus youth. You're seeing some of the statistics that really impact youth in our K-12 schools. So some of these statistics are quite disturbing. This is some of the reasons why we are doing the work that we're doing currently. So the first one is 68% of LGBTQ plus youth felt unsafe at school because of their SOGI, or their sexual orientation and gender identity expression. 97% reported hearing negative slurs against LGBTQ plus youth. 10%, 10.9%, excuse me, reported staff intervening when hearing homophobic slurs, and 12% reported having comprehensive school policies protecting LGBTQ plus youth. What I forgot to mention, and I will just add right now, is that this survey is a biannual, biennial survey that is done every 2 years. The 2024 survey is now closed for GLSEN. Their research team pushes that out. And this 2021 survey included over 21,000 youth between the ages of 13 and 21, with the average age of 16, covering all of the states as well as the territories for the United States. And so a lot of this, and again, this for a deeper discussion later on, but these are some of the concerning issues that we are trying to address through the culture of care framework. So with the literature, as I also represent Essential Valley Pride Youth Initiatives, we are a nonprofit organization. This is the educational strand, where I go into schools, school districts, and I also work with private foundations and organizations to provide awareness for and advocate for LGBTQ plus youth, and just bring that awareness so that we are able to develop a culture of care within our organizations. Now, the four key components of the literature, really what it says is that, one, if we develop supportive educators, our LGBTQ plus youth are much more likely to be efficacious and thrive, even move past the K-12 world and into tertiary education. The second component is comprehensive policies that are established in the K-12 world with anti-bullying and really calling out enumerated policies on the uses of pronoun usage, as well as, really calling out specific instances of bullying. The third component that is so key into helping this group thrive is inclusive curriculum, where representation is recognition. And basically, what some of the literature is saying now is that once our students see themselves represented in the curriculum through the models of educators that they have, that they are much more likely to be able to move forward and actually thrive through their academic success, as well as psychologically, emotionally, and socially. The fourth key component of allowing this group to really thrive is supportive student GSAs. It used to be gay straight alliances. However, we are finding now that there is much more than just gay and straight. So this is gender and sexuality alliances. And these types of supportive groups that include diversity and inclusion for all really helps students create that sense of community. So let's move into very quickly on the difference between culture versus climate. In the framework, culture is really representing the actionable steps that we can take in order to really um, set the environment to how we really want it to be. And that in itself will then create the feel or the vibe that will be the climate that is going to be established in care. So what we are working on is really empowering our educators with actionable steps through this framework that will inevitably create that climate of care. So CARE stands for compassion, awareness, respect, and empathy. The CARE framework is a result of a combined 60 years in education between my colleague and I. Um, yes, I am now dating myself as I've been in education for 30 years now. And this, this work also comes to us as more of an ethnographic methodology to really understand our LGBTQ plus students, the culture that they have, and the educators who work with them. The data collected through direct and indirect observations, it has been done through interviews, teachers, with students, and student testimonials. And we will kind of discuss a little bit further on down the road about, you know, the implications and where it's been going since then. So this framework has been in the works for about 3 years now. So I know that I am short on time, so I will go fairly quickly, okay? But the elements of compassion, okay, include pronouncing people's names properly and correctly, connecting with people's funds of knowledge, um, the deep rooted either linguistic, social, and cultural funds of knowledge that are below the surface. That's what we're able to really develop with students in order to better serve them. Practicing kindness with oneself as with others, as that is key component with education, and being willing to build that cultural competence and develop cultural capital with students. So we're seeing here that the framework of a culture of care really starts off with compassion, which is very different with empathy at the end of this framework, because compassion is rooted in being in the shoes of the other, but also having the desire to help them. So this framework is very relational, and it is really founded on building quality relationships with our students in order to best serve them. Awareness is promoting that culture of learning. So really, as educators, we are finding in the literature as well for educators who do not necessarily identify in the LGBTQ plus community, that there is some difficulty. They feel stuck as far as representing students in the community because one, they don't want to get it wrong. Two, they just are perhaps feeling uninformed and they don't really know much about what's going on in the community, so they don't want to overstep. Plus, there is also a stigma oftentimes for individuals, educators who are not in the community when they want to stick up for LGBTQ plus youth and others in the community that they are going to be tagged as LGBTQ plus themselves. So some of the other components of awareness, including encouraging social justice in and out of the classroom. And there are multiple ways that we can develop that through some of the assignments and the interactions we have with our students, along with centering, affirming, and celebrating LGBTQ plus voices. So this framework really promotes the fact that it's an extension of multiculturalism. We do need to make sure that we are promoting quality and really quality work, and as well as making sure that we are truly including diverse viewpoints within our curriculum and allowing the students to see themselves within that curriculum and also reflected in positive and affirming manner in the classroom. The fourth piece about awareness is learning about allyship or standing in solidarity with intentionality, as there is a way to do allyship wrong. So some of the things that we also address with educators and when I do trainings for educators is to really kind of discuss what that looks like. When it comes to respect, we are looking at using people's affirmed pronouns and names. For our students who are non-binary or transgender, oftentimes they will take on pronouns that are outside of the binary norm, or they will take on names that were not given to them at birth and they are chosen, and hence the reason why I say affirmed as opposed to preferred. It's also respectful to enforce classroom norms. So establishing those norms based on the values that we have through the culture of care that demonstrate equity for all, as well as affording students those opportunities to create social change. And there's multiple ways that we can do that. And then keeping students at the center to build that community, to making sure that there is positive and affirming transfer of what they're learning throughout your curriculum. And elements of queering the curriculum can also come into play here in order to see that they are going to become the agents of change in their own communities as well. Empathy is really standing up or actually putting yourself in the shoes of another. And so one way that we develop empathy is being active listeners and finding time for students and others in the community. Oftentimes, my experiences working with LGBTQ plus youth, they don't want necessarily for me to solve their problems. They just want to want me to listen to them and to be heard. Promoting promoting emotional intelligence in the learning spaces. So really bringing that out. And I want to say that one of the best ways to develop that emotional intelligence is through social emotional learning, as it focuses on the development of intrapersonal and also interpersonal relationships. And then lastly, when it comes to empathy, we are never done. So as educators, we also want to continue learning and growing and really kind of keeping this momentum moving forward in order to best serve our students. So
About 1 minute.
where, oh, yeah, thank you. Where CARE has led us so far is that I am now the executive director of Central Valley Pride Youth Initiatives. It's a nonprofit organization, as I mentioned, the educational strand of the nonprofit Central Valley Pride here in California. I go around and do all kinds of trainings for organizations as well as school districts on the culture of care. And then we've also donated queer affirming literature to school libraries. We've sponsored several Pride proms and community events. And we're currently working on a very large anti-bias grant with the Merced County Office of Education and to bring this together to light for all of their educators and administrators. And we have a upcoming book that will be coming out called Creating a Culture of Care and Supporting LGBTQ plus youth in K-20 schools sometime in 2026. And so lastly, the implications really on the adoption of a culture of care framework will be best for our students to improve their psychological, social, emotional, and environmental factors, as well as supporting all partners within the institution. Thank you.